Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. And today we have one of the big leaders in our community. He's making some news right now, Dr. Ray Hoy from Warwick Community College. Welcome.
Thank you, Greg. It's great to be here.
So what's going on over there? There's a tuition plan that I keep reading about in my favorite newspaper, the Salisbury Independent. Tell me about this thing.
My favorite paper, too.
Thank you.
This is really Bob Culver's initiative, and I want to give Bob all the credit in the world for this. Bob came to me about a year ago and said, I want to make an economic impact initiative that's going to be a game changer for this community. And he started talking to me about this initiative, which we call the Wicomico County Economic Impact Scholarship. Honestly, I didn't take him seriously at first.
Yeah, you must have been blown away.
I was. It's something that I had talked about, similar programs that exist in Garrett County and Allegheny County in Maryland, but you know, when he came to me, I said, really, you really thinking about this? And he said, yeah, I'm serious. So we put pen to paper, researched other programs in other communities, and said, okay, Bob, here's what they look like. How would you like to proceed with this? And this particular initiative is for every Wicomico County resident, graduate of a Wicomico County school system, both public or private, including Delmar High, even though it's
right
in Delaware, but they're Wicomico residents.
Right.
The year that they graduate from high school, they can come to Warwick. The county will pay their tuition. Now, it's last dollar funding. What does that mean? It means they have to apply for all financial aid, federal Pell, the federal financial aid form,
Right.
apply for aid, apply for scholarships, and it's gap funding. Anything that's not covered, the county will pay for the remaining balance of tuition and fees. They have to maintain full-time attendance, 12 credits a semester minimum. Each semester it's evaluated for continuation in the program. They have to maintain a 2.0 grade point average. Now some people say, well, that's not enough. It's enough to graduate from college.
Right.
So it really is enough. It's enough to transfer to any University of Maryland institution.
Right.
So it really is enough, but you know, there have been people that question that particular aspect of it. But interestingly, when I researched this at other institutions that have that same standard for admission, the students who are in the scholarship program have higher GPAs than those who are not in the scholarship program. So
Right.
they really do perform much better in spite of the grade point average requirement. So they attend full time, they get a full scholarship while they're in school, and they have 3 years to make two. So they can't continue on after they earn a degree, but if it takes them 3 years, they have that period of time. And that's really quicker than most students graduate from college
Right.
these days. So it pushes them through the system a little faster.
Now, is it just graduating seniors, or is it people who've been out of school for a little while?
It's just graduating seniors in the
Okay.
year they graduate. I mean, the amount of money that it would cost for everybody would just be
Right.
way too much. But when we ran through the calculations, we looked at it and said, this is something that can work. This is how it works in many other communities. And the goals of the program, and I think that's the important thing to understand, the goals of the program, really part of it is based on what your local community college can do for you. 90% of our students stay in the community even after they go on and earn advanced degrees. So they can go on and earn bachelor's, master's, doctorates, professional degrees. They tend to come home. So that makes a big difference. What we want to do is get people in the pipeline who are going to stay in our community. Another important aspect of this is we've got to raise the level of education in our community. Currently, 35% of the Wicomico County population has a college degree, associate's degree or higher. The Maryland goal is 55% by 2020.
Right.
And other counties are working very closely toward that goal. The Maryland average today is 46%. So we're well below the statewide average, and the state's working toward that. So in order for us to be competitive, we've got to have more people go to college and graduate from college. We've got to also be competitive for our businesses. We've got to provide an educated workforce for our businesses. 4 out of 5 jobs that were lost during the Great Recession were jobs that required a high school diploma or less. And those jobs are never coming back. They've been replaced by jobs that are called middle skills jobs. And middle skills jobs, I think the best definition would be they require education beyond high school, but not necessarily a baccalaureate. In Maryland today, there are more middle skills jobs than there are employees available. In Maryland today, there's 138,000 vacant jobs. Here on the Lower Shore, there's 2,000 vacant jobs. Actually, it's about 2,700. But about 700 of them don't require any special licensure skills or certifications. The other 2,000 do. With the unemployed people in our community, if they could fill those jobs, we wouldn't have an unemployment problem. But the skills don't align with the employer needs. So we want to create a skilled workforce for the jobs that currently exist, plus for the employers that we have in our community today to give them a more competitive workforce.
Right.
So there's any number of reasons why this is really a good plan for economic development for our community.
Now, the 2,000 jobs, are they like in healthcare, or it's impossible to say exactly?
They're everywhere.
Right.
Met with Dave Ryan just the other day, 2 days ago, and said,
He's our local economic development director.
Sorry, yeah, Dave, wonderful Salisbury-Wicomico Economic Development Director, does a great job. And we were reviewing the number of jobs that are available, and they're all over the board. Some of them, it ranges from truck driving through medical, through education jobs, jobs in education, those sorts of things. And we have the courses, the training, the programs that prepare people for work in most of those industries that are available today in our community. So Dave says, let's see if we can get these people upskilled so they can fill those jobs. And we all know that if we have a more educated workforce, we're going to be more competitive when businesses look to us. And we're going to make our own businesses more competitive.
Right.
The other important thing, Greg, is that in 2015, the average debt of a college graduate, a baccalaureate graduate, was $35,000. Now the problem with that is, and you hear a lot of, they're talking about that in the political landscape and how it's a real crisis and that sort of thing, but people choose to take that debt. But the problem with that is, when those kids get out of school, they can't afford to buy a house, they can't afford to buy a car, and many of them come home to live with mom and dad. And not all of us want that. Some of us do, and that's fine too, but they're not contributing to the economy because they're not able to. They don't have any discretionary income.
Right.
If they come out of college with less debt, if they come out of college with skills that prepare them for our local workforce, they can get jobs. There's going to be an economic spin here. There's going to be more people buying homes, making discretionary purchases in our community that leads to an economic spin that creates a much stronger and vibrant economy.
Right. Now, the cost of this is in the $600,000 range?
In year 3. Okay, why year 3? Well, year 1, you have 1 year's class.
Right.
So, assuming the county council accepts Bob Culver's proposal, and he's not increasing the taxes in order to do this.
Right.
It's built within his budget. The cost is in the range of about $250,000 and $252,000 in year 1. It gets up to $650,000, $665,000 thereabouts by year 3. So you have 1 year's class, then you have a 2nd year's class. The first year students are still in school, and then you have the 3rd year class. Some of the students will have already graduated, but others will be finishing up. They'll have fewer credits. So we put it on a spreadsheet and said, okay, this is what we determine. More students coming, part-time students converting to full-time, so they meet their specifications, the requirements for the program, and then how long they'd be there to get through this. And that's the dollar figure.
Right. And not every kid's going to do this. But so you've made an estimate of how many would do that.
We estimated about a 15% increase in enrollment.
Right.
And that's not unusual. When we looked at other programs in other communities, what was the experience? That was kind of the experience. And then we estimated an increase in the number of people who had been had come to school part-time because they couldn't afford full-time,
Right.
who would convert to full-time because of this opportunity. And the quicker we get them through school, they're a better tax-paying citizen.
Right, and that's the key.
That is the key.
Right. Now, one of the questions was, if you're adding 15% to your enrollment, is that going to add to your cost and to the stress on your facilities?
I will say that we do have a new building planned, but it's been planned. So we're not adding it because of this initiative or
Right.
something else. It's been on the 5-year master plan for several years. We've pushed it out, frankly, because we couldn't afford it, not because we can't build it.
Right.
We can't afford the operating dollars to put people in it. But yeah, it will obviously, in terms of institutional capacity, we'll be able to absorb the student base. Some of these students are going to need more services, but we just received a $1 million grant to help support first-generation college
Right,
students and
that's a
economically
federal grant.
disadvantaged.
That's an amazing thing.
It is. It's
Yeah.
Student Support Services, and we've got it up and running. It supports 142 students a year on a continuing basis. It's a 5-year grant for us, and those resources will be directed to help support some of these students as well. The other thing that's interesting, excuse me, is that in the communities that have started these programs, the percent of students who qualify for financial aid has gone up. Now, why is that? Well, more students apply and complete their application because if they don't qualify for the program. So it forces them to go through the process to find out if they're going to be successful.
Which is a pretty difficult process for some people.
It is, and we've got support staff to help them do that so
Right.
that we make sure that everybody who wants to can get into this program by checking all the boxes.
Right, and I think
helping
that
them.
would be a good thing, to push people to make sure that they use everything available to them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, think of the funds that are leveraged coming into the community based on federal dollars that come to the students
Right.
to help pay for their schooling that won't even cost this program anything. You know, in a lot of cases, part of this is the marketing component of this, to be able to tell every student in school, in the public schools, that you can go to college. Some people, because of families have never gone to college, it just hasn't been something that's been in their mindset. It's not something that they think is going to happen for them in their life.
Right.
When they start hearing that, you know, you can go to college. There's an opportunity for you, and it's not going to cost you. You're going to have to make an effort when you get there. You're going to have to be successful, but you can go there. Then they come, and they apply for financial aid. If they get full financial aid, it doesn't cost the county a thing. But it got them through the door. It got them to the door because they heard about the program.
Right.
I read some studies from some of the older programs like Kalamazoo, Michigan, and Tulsa, Oklahoma, that in Buffalo, New York, and in Pittsburgh, that actually, and I wasn't even looking for this type of information. It just came out, and I said, wow, that's very interesting. These programs have actually had an impact on public school success. The enrollment in the public schools has increased because students are staying in school longer. The test grades have improved. Graduation rates have improved for the public schools in the communities that have these types of programs. And the college going rate has obviously increased.
Right.
So that's a real side benefit that I hadn't even contemplated when we were talking about this.
Now in Maryland, it's done in Western Maryland.
In Allegheny County and in Garrett County. And Garrett County's program is about 10 years old.
Okay, how's that going?
Well, it's been going extremely well. In fact, a current county commissioner was the economic development director 10 years ago, a decade ago, who came up with this concept. And he said, look, if we're going to improve life in Garrett County, the way to do it is through education. So I'm telling you, county commissioners, that what you need to do is fund this economic development initiative to educate Garrett County high school graduates. And that's what they began a decade ago. He's now a county commissioner, and they feel that this program is one of the most successful things that they've done with their resources.
Right, and you would think that might be an area like our area where people might be more suspicious of giving away education. I mean,
They're very conservative.
Yes.
In Western Maryland. They were conservative before we were.
Right.
Yes. But they felt that this was an important initiative. Now, in Allegheny County, what they're doing is they have the benefit of the slots money from Rocky Gap.
Right.
And the community benefit money that they're receiving from Rocky Gap, they're rolling into a similar program. Their program is only 2 years old. So we can't gauge, the impact of the success of that particular program, but they're modeling it after their neighbor, Garrett County.
Right. From Bob Culver's point of view, based on who he is as a politician and the people who support him, this is the equivalent of Nixon going to China.
Well, you can say that, but I really don't think so. If you look at the communities that have done this, it's not any political affiliation.
Right.
It really isn't. It's really based on looking at the community, figuring out that we have a need, how are we going to address that need, and figuring out that this is a good way, great way to address it. So in the case of Worcester, they haven't had as much time to think about this.
Right.
I'm meeting with Worcester County commissioners next week at their request to talk about the program as it's designed in Wicomico County so they can learn more about it and see what they might want to do with it. But I wouldn't think that they would jump on board right away.
Right.
They just haven't had time to process it.
And their economy is different than ours. Their workforce is different. What their people do is different.
Very
So,
much different.
Yeah, I would think the southern part of the county is more like us, but you have the economic engine of northern Worcester County
Hospitality tourism,
and people in southern Worcester working in northern Worcester. So it's a different,
very much so.
kind of a different thing. How's your year going out there at the community college? You having a good year?
We're having a good year. It's been very exciting. We've got some things going on. I'm sure people have noticed that we have no trees on the front corner of the lot.
It was very jarring at first, but I've gotten used to it already.
I haven't, but
And I almost like it because you can see.
you can see the campus.
Right.
You know that something's there.
Right.
It does jump out at you. We'll have our first graduating class in occupational therapy assisting. Great program. Lots of jobs available in our community, really good paying jobs. I've had a couple of the students who are graduating come up to me and say, I got offered $80,000 right out of the chute just from my internship working with an agency and a different business and that sort of thing. So these graduates will be out here working in our community, real excited about that. The physical therapy assisting program began this year. And those students will also have great job opportunities here in our local community. So those two new things are real exciting initiatives. Another thing that we started this year with the support of Pohanka, Sandy Fitzgerald Angelo, was a driver's ed program, and we just assessed where we are at this point. Pohanka donated 2 cars to the program so that we could help economically disadvantaged individuals. We set the fee for driver's ed at the market rate. But people who are economically disadvantaged, we're reducing tuition on a sliding scale based upon financial need. And we've had 168 people complete so far, and 67% of them have been economically disadvantaged who've received scholarship support. Didn't understand the extent of the problem in the community, but we have so many people who don't have a driver's license, many of whom drive. Now we know why we pay that PIP.
Right.
In insurance coverage to help support the uninsured drivers' possibilities. But many people don't drive because they can't afford it. They
Right.
can't afford to get a license, so we're offering that opportunity as well.
Well, that's what's always fascinated me the most about the community college is that it reacts to what the community needs. So I've always had this mindset that these academic brains decide what would be best for our community, and this is what we're going to teach people. But it's not like that at all. You hear of a problem and then you solve it. Like there aren't enough truck drivers, and then you see a Warwick truck going down the road, full of guys learning to drive these big trucks because no one has the CDL license, and how to get the CDL license is very complicated. You help ease that. Certainly with the medical thing, the growth, Salisbury University had a nursing program. It seemed fine for the community, but you all expanded that and on your own, and I think you probably train more nurses now than they do.
I don't know if we do or not. Salisbury's program is wonderful. We transfer students into it. Our graduates with an associate degree in nursing sit for the RN licensure exam. It's the same exam that a baccalaureate graduate sits for.
Right.
So they both become RNs. But I encourage every student to increase their education. And hospitals today are looking for a more educated workforce as well. So we encourage everybody to move forward. Salisbury's got a wonderful program. Our graduates can transfer into that and earn their BSN degree, but they also have the master's and they have the doctoral program. So it's a great relationship that we have. It's a partnership between the institutions. But back to your point about we exist to serve the education, training, business needs in our community. So when that need changes, we change with it. We try to be flexible enough to adapt and address what the community needs are. Hence the driver's education program, and because of the growth in the needs in the medical fields, the allied health fields, occupational therapy, physical therapy, to complement all the radiology technology
The
and
Law
EMS.
Enforcement Academy has
Law Enforcement
been
Academy.
groundbreaking in this area.
It's great. We train 1,000 officers and corrections officers, police and corrections officers annually in that program, and every single police officer comes through our academy on the shore. We serve the entire 8 counties of the shore,
Right.
with that particular program.
There are all these aspects to learning in a community college that will really advance the local population.
There are. We have the transfer programs. The first 2 years of a baccalaureate program, you can transfer any place. If you graduate from Warwick, you are automatically accepted to any University System of Maryland institution. You can go to College Park, you can go to Salisbury, you can go to Towson, any UMBC, any University System institution. That's state law. And that's a great pathway to many of these institutions that are selective institutions. Not all of our students are ready when they graduate from high school. But beyond that, we offer a plethora of programs and offerings from the non-credit through the credit side that prepare people for jobs available. You know, if you want to work in a pharmacy, to just work there, a pharmacy technician has to have a certain certification. We have that licensure and certification. We have the training for that. Phlebotomist. Almost all the phlebotomists in the community probably have been trained by Warwick. They have to get licensed, and they go through our training. Certified nursing assistants, geriatric nursing assistants, all of these types of things. Warwick offers those for our community, for people to get jobs, but also to serve our needs as regular citizens. Where do we go to get our health care? Well, we go to a Warwick grad who's working for somebody to provide the services that they need.
And those are growth professions.
Definitely. If we look at our community, we know that the biggest industries are agriculture, Purdue, healthcare, education, retail, and then some manufacturing. I mean, that's really our economy in the lower shore.
Right.
So we try to address the workforce needs of the lower shore. We don't recruit students from New Jersey or Massachusetts or Mississippi. We look to serve the lower shore education, training, and workforce needs.
People talk about the brain drain all the time. Will this help, you think, solve the brain drain or make it a little bit better?
It's going to make it better. It
Yeah.
should make it better. It should make it better because our graduates stay in the community. So if we can get more people with more education, more job-ready skills to start at the community college, they tend to stay in the community. And Garrett's experienced that as well as the other communities that have had these programs. The studies have shown that the graduates are staying in the community, and it's had such effects as increasing property values because more people are staying, home prices are going up, it's increased property values, it increases the tax base in that way.
Right.
And certainly increases sales, retail sales, and those sorts of things. So all positive effects of programs like this.
I had someone say to me just the other day, Somerset's losing population, Dorchester has lost some, and they were like, what's the big deal about that? And I was like, don't you understand what that does to the local economy? What it says about what's going on within those counties, that people don't want to be there. Or can't be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's a high percentage of economically disadvantaged people in our community, unfortunately. Somerset is the most economically disadvantaged in the state of Maryland currently. But Wicomico, in the public schools, 61% of the students are on free and reduced meals. We need to change that trend by education and jobs. That's the only way we're going to change that.
How was the state legislature this year? Was it good for community colleges? Is our new governor supportive of?
The governor is supportive. We didn't get any of our legislation that we were really hoping for through. The CADE funding formula that funds community college was created in 1996 by legislation. It has never been fully funded.
Right. If it was funded, you would be rolling.
We'd be flush. I won't say rolling, but we would have the resources that we need to do our job better.
Right, which was the whole point of the CADE formula.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, the funding was to be linked to university funding.
Right.
And there was a bill in the legislature to expedite the link with the university system funding. to 29 cents on the dollar. It didn't happen. That's unfortunate. There was also a bill in to support the 7 small colleges, which Warwick is one of. Actually, it was going to support 4 of us, in the sense that when we mentioned him earlier today, Kaz Taylor was the Speaker of the House. The CADE funding formula was instituted. It really had a strong preference to the larger schools, and the small schools were somewhat disadvantaged. In the first year of the funding, the small colleges got 4% money, but it was reduced to 3% and then 2%, and then we had to live at that thereafter.
Right.
It wasn't enough. It didn't make us whole. We lost money from the previous funding formula. So the legislature said, well, we'll provide some money outside the formula. But Kaz was from Western Maryland, and Kaz was
Right.
was the speaker. So Garrett, Allegheny, and Hagerstown in Washington County received $500,000, and Warwick, Chesapeake, Carroll, and Cecil received $250,000, and it increased over time with the inflation factor was built in. Today, that funding level is about $800,000 at the Western Maryland schools, and we're at about $400,000. So there was legislation put forward to put us on par with our the other small colleges, because it was really speaker money
Right.
and really make us whole, and that didn't happen either. We thought we had a 50-50 shot, and we were really hoping that would go through. Had a lot of support from our local delegation, but that just didn't happen for us.
Right. Now, you all just had your big anniversary.
40th anniversary, yeah.
That's incredible, isn't
It
it?
was very exciting.
How many thousand students have gone through there? Any idea?
No, I really don't know. And it would have been nice to be able to find out. We weren't, we didn't have a computer system tracking everything in the early days,
Right.
And a lot of non-credit.
You should have had an Excel
programs.
spreadsheet
We
for
should have had an
that.
Excel spreadsheet. Actually, probably didn't have them then. I remember spreadsheets when they first came out, and it was
Yeah.
there wasn't Excel yet.
Yeah.
But I started working at Chesapeake College in 1976 when Warwick opened. And so I remember the college starting and growing, and getting to be part of it has been a real joy for me.
Yeah. And it is a jewel of our community. There's just no doubt about it.
Well, I feel strongly about that, but of course I'd be biased. But
Yeah.
I really do think that the college has made a profound impact on the community. We say that we've been changing lives since 1975, and that's when the college was founded, but the first class actually began in the fall of '76.
11 traits that successful communities all seem to have from
Mm-hmm.
the Atlantic Monthly report on that. And like number 7 is they all have a community college.
Right.
And research universities are very important too in a local economy.
Absolutely.
Which, you're kind of lucky if you get a research university. And Salisbury's kind of a research university, especially with Purdue School. There's a lot of innovative type stuff going on there. Maybe more research at UMES and down at Wallops, but we have access to that. But the authors say that you're going to be lucky to have a research university, but any good community can find a way to create a community college. And whoever helped get that started here was really smart at the time to do it and have it developed as far as it is. It's really, really important.
Well, we know who those people were. Bob Cook, obviously.
Well, they all take credit, or
And Frank Morris and folks
Yeah.
like that who really stepped up, and the Greater Salisbury Committee who made this happen for this community, and it's been a wonderful asset, I believe.
Mr. Cook, who's turning 92 right now.
He's been founder, board member, employee. He was development director, and he's been part of every fundraising campaign we've ever had.
Wow.
The biggest supporter of the college and friend that anybody could ever have.
He's Dr. Ray Hoy. He's the president of Warwick Community College in our community, doing a good job really making things better for us. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Greg. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper, another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.